Alrighty, guys, so we're going to start this lesson off with solving linear equations. This should be review for most of you. However, I do want to go over it because I think it's just some important things to have in mind and make sure that you and us, we all are on the same page. So I'm going to give you an example here. I'm going to write it with my pen, but if we decide we don't like that, I will switch to actual markers. So we have a fraction here out front and another fraction right in here on my forehead. And this is the problem that we're going to work on solving. So we have 1/3 times 2x minus 57 plus 1/3 times 6 minus x equals -4. So the first thing that I'm going to do with a problem like this is I don't like having all those parentheses. That's part of my order of operations, is to get rid of those grouping symbols first. So I'm going to distribute my 1/3 to both of these areas. So here we now have 2/3 x minus 57 divided by 3 is 19. Plus 1/3 times 6 is 2 minus 1/3 x equals -4. Now our next step is going to be combining like terms. So we have this things that are connected to x's. We're going to add 2/3 x minus 1/3 x. So 2/3 minus 1/3 is 1/3 is left. We keep that x attached to it. Minus 19 plus 2 is minus 17. We still have it equaling -4. We're going to go ahead and add 17 to both sides. So we have 1/3 x equals -4 plus 17. That is 13. We're going to multiply by 3 on both sides. So this cancels out. We have x on that side, and 13 times 3 is 39. So that's how we're going to solve a linear equation. We're not trying to do anything fancy here. We're just remembering our algebra, following the order of operations by, and then following our properties of what we can do in an equation. We can add things to both sides. We can multiply things to both sides. We can use the distributive property. So we're just kind of keeping all of those things in mind as we use these. Don't forget on the distributive property, on combining like terms. Something that I see so often is on a step like this, I see students, and I'm going to actually make this in red. Red means don't do this. I see students see this minus 19 and they start to do this. Okay, so they start to add this 19 here. And then they add the 19 right here. Don't do that. You have to add the 19 on the other side. Okay, now it doesn't make sense to do that here. You have to wait until the bottom. When you're adding things, you add it to each side of the equal sign. Okay, so that's one thing that I just see as pretty much every single class I've taught, somebody has done that, and usually several. So make sure you're paying attention to that. All right, let's look at another example. This is going to be an example that involves a word problem. This one says the diameter of Earth, and actually, you know what? Let's take a quick little screenshot of that so that we can, it's going to be a little small, sorry, but let's just go ahead and put it in my e-glass so that you can see it, and there's no question what this problem says. So here we go, and I'll make it bigger. Give me just 2 seconds. Okay, so put it right over my face. The diameter of Earth is 828 kilometers, less than twice the diameter of Mars. If Earth has a diameter of 12,756 kilometers, what is the diameter of Mars? Now, a couple things here. What we're talking about is planets. And so the letters we're going to use to represent this are going to be really easy. We're going to use E for Earth. Okay, so we're going to use E for Earth. Why is it still doing this? Okay, E for Earth. Here we go. We're going to use M for Mars. And we're going to set up an equation of some sort. Okay, so we have the diameter of Earth is 828 kilometers less than twice the diameter of Mars. So we kind of have a lot going on with that sentence. So let's go ahead and just break that down. And let's say that Earth is, okay, so Earth is, that's going to be equals 828 kilometers less than. That means that I'm going to want this minus 828 to be right after something else. Okay, and that something else is twice the diameter of Mars. So 2m. Okay, now it also tells us that Earth has a diameter of 12,756. So I can substitute this E here for 12,756 equals 2m minus 828. I'm going to add 828 to both sides. So let's do some calculations. 12,756 plus 828 is 13,584. So 13,584 equals the 2m. Now we're going to divide by 2 on both sides. I'm just going to divide by 2. So now I have 6,792 equals m. So that means if I go back to the question, the diameter of Mars is 6,792 kilometers. Okay. Now I'm going to show you guys one more example, and then we will stop this video. Okay. So our last example here is going to be solving for a variable. So let me erase this. If you need to go back, you can pause, you can rewind, you've got lots of choices. But I'm going to write this new problem up. And what we're doing, this is really useful when you're solving linear equations as well. We're going to get to some more of those examples. But if I have something like this, P equals 2a plus 2, whoops, plus 2b, okay? And the question is solve for b, okay? So I've got this equation. It's like, the b is in the wrong place. Sometimes you'll find that your y is in the wrong place and you want it to be y equals mx plus b. You want it to be slope-intercept form, but the y is in the wrong place. So this is going to give you practice with this kind of math so that you're more used to it in the future. So here's the way I would go about this one. Although there are definitely more than one choice here for a first step, this is what I would do. So I would probably say, okay, the b is right over here. So I want to isolate this. I want that to be all alone. Okay, so I'm going to start by subtracting 2a from both sides. So over here, I have p minus 2a equals, and I still have 2b over here. Okay, well, now I still need to isolate that b, so I'm going to divide by 2, and I'm going to divide by 2. This side's easy. Let's do that one first. 2 divided by 2 is 1, which means we have b. Now, this one is a little trickier. What I recommend for students, when you have something like this, if you think about it like a fraction, which I know we don't really love fractions, we're going to basically divide both parts of this. Okay, so we have the p divided by 2, and we have the minus 2a divided by 2. It's 2 pieces. And so that's what we're going to do. We have the p over 2, and we have this minus 2 over 2a. We don't need this 2, so it's just going to go away, and we're going to say minus a, right? So there we go. that matches P divided by 2 minus A equals B. You can also use the symmetric property, and you can write it like B equals P over 2 minus A. So that just switches it up for you. I decided I'm going to do one more example because you know what? I'm allowed to. So if you want to watch this next example, stay with me. If you feel confident to move forward, you can. You have choices here. All right, so this next one is just a quick check. So I have the area formula right here of a trapezoid. It's a little bit goofy. So area of a trapezoid is 1/2 times the height of the trapezoid times A plus B. Okay, so remember, a trapezoid looks like this. Okay, that's the messiest trapezoid ever. You have a height that has to be at a 90-degree angle. So this is your H. And then you have two lengths here, this top length and this bottom length. So that's what we're talking about. That's how you find it. And so what if you knew the height? Sorry, I said that wrong. You didn't know the height, but you knew the area. So in that case, you would want to solve this, and you want to have H equals blah, blah, blah that you can plug in. Okay, so let's say we knew the area, we don't know the height, so we want to solve for H. So I'm going to write that here, solve for H. Okay, so my first step, and really, you can kind of choose your own adventure here. Most of y'all don't like fractions, so I typically, when I work these for you, I'll start by getting rid of a fraction. So that's what I'm going to do here first, is I'm going to make this go away. So 1/2 times 2, that makes this cancel out. 2 over 2 is 1. And you have to multiply on this side too, so I have 2A equals H times A plus B. Okay, so that's just this middle part. I still want to solve for H, so I'm going to divide by this whole A plus B. Divide by A plus B. Remember, this is little a, so it doesn't cancel with big A. Big A is area, so 2 times the area divided by A plus B, this does cancel out here, equals the height. Okay, now again, if I wanted to, I could use the reflexive property and say H equals 2A over little a plus little b. Okay, good luck. Let me know if you have questions.